3 or 4 months ago, I called Miami quarterback Cam Ward the best QB in college football. After 4 games in this current season, he has more than lived up to that billing as he continues to carve up opposing defenses. This is QB Unfiltered, my take. The U's quarterback Cam Ward.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Okay, so my initial breakdown on Ward and calling him the best quarterback in college football was way before spring ball even started for the Canes. It was based on my evaluation of his film from Washington State. And I based this on 3 criteria. Number 1, his skill set is off the charts. And we'll dive into that a little bit more as we go in this show. Number 2, he had played his entire college career in the air raid system, starting at Incarnate Word, then at Washington State, and coming to Miami and playing in the air raid system once again. He excelled at Incarnate Word. He excelled at Wazoo. And there was going to be no question in my mind that with that experience and that command of this offensive scheme, that he was going to go to Coral Gables and do the very same thing for the Canes. And then number 3, he was coming to play for an offensive coordinator at Miami by the name of Shannon Dawson. Dawson's an air raid guy. And I did another show on him where we talked about his history, his coaching history, who he has coached with in regards to the air raid. So it's really a perfect storm for Miami and for Cam Ward. And after the first 4 games of the season, we can see just exactly what he brings to the table. And man, is it fun to watch. So I'm going to talk a lot about what he did this past weekend in game 4 against the University of South Florida. So this past Saturday's game was billed as maybe the biggest test for the University of Miami so far this season. You know, they walked into the swamp in game 1 and really kicked Florida's ass all over the place. But a lot of pundits and gurus were saying that this was going to be a very interesting game. And a couple of reasons. Number 1, they were going into South Florida's house. And number 2, South Florida's secondary is very highly touted. And we all know what Ward did in the game. He was 24 for 34 for 404 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, he threw a pick, but it wasn't him. It was a deflection off of one of his receivers. So he had another great statistical game. This is my analysis of Ward's game against University of South Florida. Number 1, this dude is in total command of the Canes offense. Total command. When you watch him play, he is a guy that is so dialed in with what they are trying to do to the opposing defense. And that's one of the beauties of the air raid and having a simplified playbook is you can rep it during the week of practice and have the ability, because of how the quarterbacks are taught to read coverage pre and post snap, have the ability to really change plays out there on the line of scrimmage and put your offense always in a position to run the best play or put them in position to gash the defense on matchups versus certain coverage looks. And so in this game, very obvious when you're watching it on TV, Cam Ward made multiple on the line of scrimmage checks during this game, meaning he got them out of a play and changed it to another play. He used a lot of hand signals. You know, it was situations where they may have had a scheme on with the passing game. They've got their protection set, okay? And then he just flashes a hand signal, you know, out to one of his outside receivers to change a route based on the coverage look they were getting. This was really fun for me to watch this because it really brought back a lot of memories of watching Mike Leach's Washington State Cougar offense and his quarterbacks, guys like Luke Falk, Gardner Minshew, Anthony Gordon, those guys routinely change the plays at the line of scrimmage, or they just signaled to individual receivers to change their routes based on the coverage look they were getting. And your quarterbacks can do this when they're coached up and they totally understand what they're looking for and they know what they have at their disposal to check to. And the coaches, Shannon Dawson, Mario Cristobal, believe in Cam Ward enough to give him total control to change plays when he wants to. What a great advantage that is for any offense. It was also fun for me because as I was watching the game in real time, when they would come up to the line of scrimmage, particularly in the red zone, and South Florida would line up in their coverage, I was saying to myself, check to this route. And boom, Ward would look out to the outside receiver, either to the right or the left. He'd flash a little hand signal out there, and here comes that route. And they made them pay for that. And that was fun to watch. You know, it's really like Cam Ward has got the joystick in a video game. And with his ability and his grasp of the offense, his physical and mental ability with the Canes offense, he can dial up any play he wants with that joystick. And they're always in a successful situation on just about every snap. Examples of Ward changing plays. He checked to a fade route down in the red zone. I think they were inside the 10-yard line. He got press coverage up in his guy's face. Outside receiver, he checked to the fade, executed a great GST, meaning grab, stab, and throw, grab the snap, stab that back foot in the ground and get the ball out right now. You also have, and they did this a lot, where he checked to a switch vertical / fade route where they had a pick in there where they were rubbing off the press defenders of South Florida. So the outside guy would come in and rub the slot defender as the slot receiver would go outside. It's a switch vertical and throwing the outside fade. He also checked to a lot of slant routes, and he checked to dig routes, and all of those are great against man coverage. You know, one little note here that I got to say, I am really surprised in this game here where there was a lot of cover one being played on both sides of the ball. And then going back last week to the Alabama-Wisconsin game where there was a lot of cover one played. And you've got these man beater routes that you call. And Miami was all over that in this last game, checking to man beaters all over the field. But I'm still amazed that I don't see these guys running the shallow cross versus man coverage, where you can check to any one of your receivers out there, punch step, get inside that DB, and then they got to chase your ass all the way across the field. And quarterback puts it on him in stride, which Ward can do with his eyes closed. And those are big gash plays. So, but, you know, with that being said, Miami put up a 50 spot and Cam threw for over 400 yards. So what do I know? Okay, his ability to run the offense is just really fun to watch. He is so poised and he is so calm out there in the pocket. He always knows where his guys are. You know, that's one thing I always said to my quarterbacks. All week in practice, they always heard from me, you're going here to here to here. You're going here to here to here, and always know where your running back is. You're going here to here to here and always know where your running back is. How many times in this game did Ward go through his downfield progression reads, get knocked off platform in the pocket where he had to slide or climb the back, check released on a little check down, and Ward just spit it to him through about a 4 or 5 yard throw and let the guy run for 15 yards. It was beautiful to watch, and he did this a lot during that game. So shout out to Shannon Dawson right now. You know, it's fun to watch an offensive coordinator that knows how to attack coverage And you could see what they wanted to do right off the bat when South Florida came out and played cover one press, which is man-free coverage. A lot of rub routes, a lot of slant routes, a lot of fade routes, a lot of dig routes. So that was nice. One thing about the slant that I want to talk about, on Miami's second touchdown of the game down in the red zone, their outside receiver to the left ran a slant route. Ward threw it to him for a touchdown. This guy ran a double move slant route, which you hardly ever see. And this is a coaching thing. This is a coached route. Okay. Kudos and a shout out to Miami's receiver coach. He got press coverage. He took a punch step and drove to the slant. Okay, this corner backed off a little bit and turned his hips to the inside like he's going to chase the slant. And then the receiver stemmed it back up vertically for a step, which rocked that cornerback back on his heels because he thought now he was going to see the fade. And then that receiver stuck his toe in the ground with that outside foot and burst in on the slant. Touchdown, easy pitch and catch. That was a hell of a route by that receiver. Great coaching points on how to set up a corner with a double move slant route that you don't see very often. Okay, getting back to Cam Ward, he has one of the quickest releases that I've seen in years. When he decides to pull the trigger, there is no wasted motion, none of the things that cause quarterbacks to get the ball out of their hand late, dropping the ball down and having to push it all the way back up, or having a long, loopy delivery. No, that thing is up and out, and it is fast. Quick release. His pocket mechanics and poise are off the charts. There were a couple times in this game, and this was really subtle by him, where he was climbing the pocket and he would turn the football. We called it hiding the rock. He would turn the ball to make sure that this guy that was possibly slapping his paw at the football wasn't going to knock it out of his hand. So he would climb, turn, and then get that ball back into the throwing position, tip of the ball, top of the numbers, and deliver a strike downfield. Or a couple times when he did this, he did the old, there's my check down, boom. Just going to spit it to him and let him go. He has the great ability to move in the pocket, whether it's side to side slides, it's a controlled shuffle going back, or it's climbing in the pocket and keep his eyes downfield. Now, this is a skill that's not talked about by a lot of analysts on TV, but not every quarterback does this. Okay. And an example of comparing two guys here, when Caleb Williams played for USC, when he dropped back to throw, if he sensed in his peripheral vision that one of his offensive linemen was starting to be compromised, you could see it on film. He would start to move in the pocket, but his eyes would come down to the rush. And as soon as that happens, the structure of the route concept is out the window. Because now what Caleb was doing was the eyes came down, and instead of throwing the ball downfield to open receivers, he was trying to figure out how he was going to move around and, do his thing to get out on the perimeter and then try to pick up a receiver that he could throw the ball to, or else he would just run it. Well, the difference between that and Cam Ward, when Cam Ward senses that, he just slides his feet subtly or climbs subtly, and he's always got his eyes downfield. So he's running the offense the way it's intended to be run. And he's either going to his second or third read, or he's checking the ball down to his back. It's a beautiful thing to watch. A great example of this was that 2-point play they ran. Again, he got knocked off platform. He had to climb a little bit. There's his back. Just nice, easy pitch and catch. 2 points, easy. It's easy for Cam Ward. Okay. Now, one thing I got to talk about here with Ward is a move that I'm calling the Cam ball fake. He did it in the game against South Florida. He did it last year on film for Washington State. And both times that I've seen him do this, he's had the same effect on the defensive guys. So he gets flushed. He's out in open field running. And he's got a defensive guy that's coming up on him to try to make the tackle. And Ward will take the ball and fake a pitch. He's got no one to pitch to. He's just doing it. And both times the defensive guy about broke his ankles trying to move outside to where he's pitching the ball. And Ward just sticks his toe in the ground and continues to run upfield. He did it the other night. I laughed my ass off when I saw him do it. That's the Cam ball fake. The game has to be slowed down in your mind to do that type of stuff. The Zen-like movements and poise and calmness that he shows in the pocket, the game is slowed down for him. Okay. Knowing his checks and what plays he's going to get out of and into or individual receiver checks, that game is slowed down for him. Again, a lot of that has to do with the coaching that he's received in the air raid system in the 3 stops that he's had in college football. Incarnate Word, Washington State, and now Miami. The right things are being coached up to this young man. And all of those things that are coached to him on Monday through Friday show up on Saturday under the bright lights and the TV cameras. Okay, just some random thoughts on this game. Between the injury timeouts and the commercials and the tremendous amount of penalties, this was a long game. And those types of games like that, it's difficult for quarterbacks to stay in the rhythm, right? There was one series where South Florida ran a 19-play drive, and Cam is on the sideline for a long period of time. And when you're out there slicing and dicing the defense, you want to get back out there and do that as soon as you can. So to have the ability to stay in the game mentally so that when you do get back out there on the field, that's a real bonus for him. The Canes need to cut their penalties down significantly, okay? Too many holding calls and too many dumbass personal fouls. That's just a personal opinion of mine. That may jump up and bite them in the ass somewhere down the road. They need to knock that off, and I'm sure Cristobal is talking about that this week. Okay, you can see what no huddle and tempo does to a defense. South Florida came out and went fast. Okay, no huddle tempo, and you can see what it did to Miami's defensive line. Those guys were gassed. They had to take what I call injury timeouts, where guys are just instructed to get down on the ground just to give everybody a chance to catch their breath. Okay, University of South Florida's secondary made some really poor plays and decisions in this game that cost them. That long vertical that Ward threw for the touchdown to their outside left receiver, South Florida was disguising coverage, okay? And on the snap of the ball, they tried to stem to 2-zone, all right? 2-zone, 2 safeties high. Cornerbacks in 2-zone cannot ever let the receiver, the outside receiver, beat them on an outside release. They have got to take away leverage to the outside and force or funnel that guy inside. The reason why is if you let that outside receiver get an outside release, it's too far for the safety to go to make a play. Well, that's exactly what South Florida did on this play. The corner stayed inside. He allowed Miami's receiver to outside release, and then the safety on that side, who's supposed to be over the top of the whole thing, he takes a flat angle, and I think his eyes were on the slot receiver who was running an out route. That's just a mental bust by both of those guys. Okay. And when you're playing a quarterback as good as Cam Ward, those great QBs make you pay for making mistakes in the secondary. And that was a long touchdown pass. And then their slot defender and corners were continually getting picked off on those rub plays. And I'm thinking to myself, man, every time that Miami runs that, you guys look surprised that there's a guy picking you or getting in your face. You know, I just didn't get that, but that was definitely one of the weapons that the Canes came in to use against that man coverage. I don't think South Florida handled that type of route scheme very good at all the entire night. And then, you know, for opponents, USF, one of them, opponents down the road from Miami, against an offense that knows what they're doing, throwing the ball, you cannot just line up in the coverage that you're playing. Good pass offenses are going to dissect that. All right. Now, there were snaps in this game where South Florida lined up in a look, and on the snap of the ball, they buzzed to another coverage. That's good. That's what you have to do. But how many times in this game did they just say, we're going to line up in cover one press. We're going to show it. And that makes it easy for Ward, and that makes it easy for Dawson. Okay, Cam Ward's feet are getting better. You know, I did a analysis on him after the Florida game, and I said his feet were sloppy. His feet are getting much better. I love to see that. This is one thing here that I got to say this, okay? I talked about Cam Ward in the Florida game at times being too cool for school, particularly when he was running the ball on scrambles and then just gearing down and jogging out of bounds. He had another one of these the other night. I'm telling you, I've seen this before. You gotta stop doing that, Cam. You got to stop doing that. Continue to get downfield and then get your butt out of bounds and protect yourself, because I'll guarantee you this. There's a defensive guy somewhere out there that you guys are going to play against this year who doesn't care if he gets a 15-yard personal foul. If you gear down on the field of play and just kind of, you know, half step it out of bounds, you're going to get one of these defensive dudes who is going to torpedo you in the helmet or wherever else, and it's not going to be a pretty deal. So please, Cam, get what you can get and protect yourself so that you can line up and run another snap. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to make this crazy comment. Okay, I'm well aware that the Canes are averaging, 52 points a game, and I'm well aware that they're averaging 600 yards in offense. If Mario Cristobal and Shannon Dawson went a little bit no huddle, a little bit tempo, a little bit more spread, to which they could run more plays, more snaps, 15 more snaps in a game, Cam Ward more pass attempts, they would have to make a concentrated effort to stop scoring points. Okay, so they're averaging 52. They would have to stop themselves once they got to like 67 or 69 in these games. So what we've seen them do offensively in the first 4 games, these guys are a machine. And if they really turned them loose, and, the best player on that team is wearing jersey number 1 on the offensive side of the ball, let him spin the rock. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to watching Cam and the Canes play for the rest of the season. They got another big game coming up this Friday against Virginia Tech. Be on the lookout for my next game analysis. I'm going to do Oregon and UCLA because I really want to talk about Oregon's slick, talented left-handed quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. So that's going to be coming down the pike real soon. If you like the show, you like today's analysis and take, hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel QB Unfiltered. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about Cam Ward. and the Canes moving forward. And I'll leave you with this. This is QB Unfiltered. And remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I got no love.